In the world of Warhammer Fantasy, you often run into demons and dragons and monsters throughout the entire world. And for the average person, the only way to survive is the thickest plate, the greatest blessings and enchantments, and as many friends as you can find to bring to the fight. But this isn't always the case. There's a small group of dwarves who think the exact opposite. Those are the Fire Slayers. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. In this grimdark world of fantasy and warfare, the Fire Slayers stand out for a very unique reason, and that is they go into warfare basically naked. Their giant axe and mohawks stand out wildly compared to a lot of the other fighting forces of the fantasy world, including their own faction, the Dwarves. Most Dwarves are heavily plated, a little bit slower moving, and heavily armed with shields and large weapons that can keep people at bay, and are often considered some of the tankiest units. But the Fire Slayers are the literal opposite. They're very similar to, historically, what would be the Norse Berserkers that would strip down basically to nothing and would charge in, probably high on drugs, to a fight to help break the enemy's lines in shield wall fighting. And that's why I wanted to talk about them today. I just finished Gotrek and Felix, so I got to learn a little bit more about the Fire Slayer lore and learn some really interesting stuff about why they do what they do and why they're so powerful in the lore. A lot of times, the Fire Slayers are doing things that they should not be able to do. And I wanted to talk about that today. So, let's dive into it. But first, a message from our sponsor, me. I know you guys are enjoying the video, but I wanted to take a brief moment to let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by me. I'm also a professional author as well as a YouTuber. So, if you guys are curious about my new story, Legend of a Leatherneck, here is a brief 1-minute snippet of the first fight scene in the book.
James walked in the direction that his chaotic mind carried him, not wanting to go home, but not having anywhere else to go. For minutes, he carried the bundle clutched tightly as he walked the streets of South Boston. His mind raced in every direction, never focusing on where he was or where he was going. The sounds of the sea and the smell of the salt pulled him out of his wild trance to see the ports and industrial facilities just a block ahead of him. Before he knew where he was, a hand darted from the shadows of the alley and pulled hard on the emerald green fabric. His tight grip on the bundle pulled him from his feet and threw him into the shadows beyond. His eyes swam as he struck the brick wall head first, and the sword slipped from his grasp to clatter free on the ground. The training that the Marine Corps had beaten into him over the last 9 years kicked in as two shadowy, hooded thugs approached from the end of the alley. The sword almost jumped into his hand as long, slightly curved daggers appeared from inside the pockets on the enemy's cloaks. With a yank, James pulled the blade free of the leather sheath and held it in front of him like he'd been trained to do with his combat knife. A beam of sunlight broke through the clouds overhead and struck the blade. It ignited in a white-orange magical flame that lit the alley up like the noonday sun.
It's seen in the book. And you'll be able to check it out in the link below. It's on pre-order right now, and it comes out on June 17th. So if you're watching it after June 17th, you'll be able to get it wherever books are sold. If you're watching it before then, you can get it on my website. It's available on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, and places like that for pre-order as well. Hope you guys enjoy it. Before we get to how they survive and why they are the way they are, let's talk a little bit about what the Fire Slayers are exactly. And I apologize for the eye. My eye is a little bit irritated for allergies, so don't worry about it. I know it's a little weird. The Fire Slayers are often part of the Dwarven factions, but you do see them elsewhere as well because they're mercenaries. They're dwarves that go out to sell their axe to someone who's willing to pay well enough and provide them with an opportunity to basically sacrifice themselves. Their strength is in their raw power and their passion for combat that leads them into berserker rages. It's something you'll often see in D&D when you're talking about barbarians, and that's pretty much who the Fire Slayers are. They come from the realm of fire in particular, and are the literal opposite of the rest of their people. Most of the time, dwarves are hiding behind large shields and phalanxes and heavy armor, while the Fire Slayers have no patience at all. They're not going to sit back and wait for their foes to come to them. They're charging in, screaming a battle cry at the top of their heads. And the thing that stands out the most on a Fire Slayer's body, besides the giant mohawk that's usually red, are the golden sigils that cover his body, which allow for some magic to actually take effect and protect him when he really shouldn't be. Which leads to the question, how does a mostly naked berserker dwarf survive volleys of arrows and all of the slashes and chops that they take during a fight? And all of that comes from a story we're going to talk about next. For this story, we're going to have to go way back in the lore and talk about the two dwarven gods, Grugni and Grimnir. These two were wildly different beings, but after a major turn of events, they were both captured and freed by the god king Sigmar. After being freed, both swore an oath to Sigmar that they would forever be friends with the humans, and they would help them in any way they could. Grugni, the master craftsman, swore that his people would honor them with weapons and armor to help support the human races throughout all of the horrors of the fantasy realm. But Grimnir, the god of war, gave the opposite oath. He demanded that Sigmar name a foe worthy of his fight, that he could prove himself worthy of that rescue. And Sigmar pointed to Volcatrix, mother of the salamanders, the queen of all of the dragons, and a demigod in her own right, a dangerous monster of pure fire. And with this oath, Grimnir charged in at full steam, twin axes ready for the fight, and went to work. The fight with the dragon was apocalyptic, and neither could really win. They fought for a very long time. During this fight, Grimnir's hair and beard erupted into flames, turning into a shimmering mohawk and flame red beard. The blows were so powerful that sparks and embers and magma were sent flying across the realm, forming islands and mountain ranges just from the sheer volume of destruction that they caused. And this fight went on for so long and so powerfully that it ripped a mountain range in half as the two of them were ripped apart, combining their essences into one deific being, before it shattered into a massive explosion and was scattered across the realms. These fragments took on a metallic form and buried themselves deep in the earth, forming what's called Urgold, a substance that is almost sacred to the dwarves and especially the Fire Slayers. And this Urgold is the source of the Fire Slayers' power, and where a lot of their abilities and protections come from. But we're going to talk about that next. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of really cool videos coming. We're focusing a lot more on the old world because that seems to be what you guys are wanting, and I'm fine with that. I'm learning a lot about it as I'm going through, and painting. You don't have any of my fantasy armies here yet. You will there on that middle shelf as soon as I finish my Night Goblins army, and potentially my Warriors of Chaos army. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put them there, or maybe Bretonnia next. I've got all three. Obviously, I play the Night Goblins primarily, just because they're a lot of fun. It's very different than anything I've done. And yes, that's a very odd topic to bring up, as I'm talking about Fire Slayers. But once again, make sure you like and subscribe. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming. I know a lot of you guys that watch these aren't subscribed, and that's fine. A lot of you guys are fighting me for the first time, which is great. But if you can, give me a subscribe. A lot of sponsors only look at the subscriber numbers, not at the actual view counts, which I think is kind of dumb, but that matters. So if you can, give me a subscribe, even if you only watch this video, I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get into talking about more Urgold. After Grimnir's demise in that epic fight, the Urgold became sacred to the followers of Grimnir, and they strove to find it at all costs. This led to the creation of the Fire Slayers, as well as the Zargrim Priesthood. The Zargrim Priesthood is an organization designed to collect the Urgold and use it to bring divine power to its servants. And this gold doesn't give the full power of the gods, but it gives just a little bit of power to any of the followers who take it upon themselves, whether that be through amulets or in some cases actual tattoos and things like that, to exemplify their service to Grimnir and the ultimate fight. These tattoos are formed into runes that symbolize Grimnir and his power, and lead to a lot of the aspects of Grimnir being implanted on any of his servants who take these runes. Obviously not to the scale that would bring him back, but giving them a slight advantage in fights that aren't as expected. This process is long and agonizing and is very unique for the Fire Slayers. It's an act of faith, an act of putting on their armor. In 40k, we see this a lot with the Sisters of Battle and several others who have almost rituals to arming themselves and armoring themselves for a fight. And for the Fire Slayers, this is a more permanent version of that, that's hyper sacred and hyper important to who they are and what they believe. In the heart of battle, this power is unleashed in an epic scale that can level a battlefield or give them advantages that a dwarf probably shouldn't have, including a lot faster movement, stronger abilities to lift and wield things, as well as the ability to take blows that they shouldn't be able to take. And this is what leads to the power of the Fire Slayers. But this power is finite. There's a limit to it, and it gets used up over time in battles, leaving the Fire Slayers with what's called Glimmerlust. This Glimmerlust is almost like a drug addict looking for another fix. He's striving for a rune to replace the rune he's lost and spent. And this is why they serve as mercenaries. They're out looking for more ore gold. And for a lot of the realms, they can't really tell the difference between gold and ore gold, but for a Fire Slayer, they can tell instantly. And that is what they require payment in. A lot of times, because they don't want to bring too much attention to it, they'll request payments in just gold and look for ore gold that's mixed in. And as soon as they have enough, they return to the priests to get a new rune hammered into them. And this is who they are. This tale of strength and woe and unique relationships with their gods has led to a lot of very different situations and different characters being born from it. It's something that I've found really fascinating as I've gotten to learn about it recently, and it's something I can actually respect. At first, when I saw them on the tabletop, I just kind of looked at them and went, why do we have berserkers with giant mohawks on the tabletop? They look kind of weird. But now that I've had the opportunity to learn about them, I respect them. They're interesting characters. It's an interesting background and lore, and I kind of want to learn more about them. And like I said, if you want to learn more about them, Gotrek and Felix has a little bit of information on it and would be a good starting point. So if you've enjoyed this video, once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming. We'll have another Old World video next week, and then we're going to kind of pivot and see from there how we want to handle things. Like I said, so far, the Old World videos have been considerably more popular than 40k. If you're a 40k fan and you want to see more of those, make sure you go like and subscribe and comment on those videos and share them around. I love doing both 40k and fantasy, but if fantasy is going to be what draws the most people and you guys enjoy the most, that's what we're going to do. So make sure you go down and like and subscribe, ring the little notification bell so you get notified when we have more videos coming out, and I will see you guys in the next one.